It's about time for us now to feel the pulse of the nation. And by that, we do a newspaper review segment where we go through the major headlines, across the various national dailies. And of course, I won't be doing this alone, as I have Pat right here as my co-anchor who will be doing the review segment with me. Of course, on the list of newspapers, we have Vanguard, which will be our first point of call. And on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, we have looking at the issue of the declaration by the US President Trump, and of course, the reaction from China, who is a partner or ally to Nigeria. And it says, why we reject US threat on Nigeria. You can find details of that story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. And of course, we have a rider or a couple of riders. It says, US lawmakers blast Trump, says threatening military action against Nigeria irresponsible. Now we have Nigeria. Okay, we have religious extremists exploiting to divide Nigeria. Federal government raises alarm, insists no genocide against Christians. Senate to discuss Trump comment with executive arm. Then we have genocide claim divisive, dangerous for region's cohesion, and that's coming from ECOWAS. And of course, we have other stories at the top strip on the left corner on alleged terrorism. I have no case to answer. Let me go. And that's coming from the indigenous leader of Biafra. I'm talking about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. You can find details of that story on page 11. And on industrial strike, we have met ASU's demand, and that's coming from federal government. Details on page 8. And of course, we have court clears PDP to hold national convention in Ibadan. The writer to that story, party petitions IGP over alleged violent takeover of secretariat. Details on page 9. And at the top strip there still, we have top banks record 4.1 trillion naira profit in 9 months. Details on page 19. Let's talk about this issue of China rejecting the threat, the so-called threat, from US against Nigeria. What's your take as regards that?
Well, Nigeria is the home of China. This is where most of their business are, here in Nigeria. And then I do not think it will be of their interest if America comes here to destabilize Nigeria, as it were. So for them to reject it, it's for their own personal interest too.
Of course.
Yes, because they have a lot of businesses.
I'm talking about road project, railway projects, serious infrastructures going on here.
So I don't think they want to allow that to happen, truly.
Okay. Now let's see other stories of interest. We have Obaseki Carpets, Okpeholo denies 600 billion naira debt, others. Details on page 12. And of course, on budget deficit, Tinubu seeks fresh 1.15 trillion naira domestic loan as debt hits 152 trillion naira. Details on page 20. The issue is, for how long are we going to be on this journey of
Josh,
borrowing, and borrowing?
I was going to ask you that question. Aren't we tired of borrowing? And then what projects are this money that are borrowed being put into? Because we are not seeing any projects, major projects yet. And we keep borrowing. What are the money used for?
Of course, even if they try to justify that, well, some of these monies borrowed are for, critical infrastructures, are we looking at the immediate benefits, even if most of these projects, in terms of the benefit, might come in the long term?
In the long term.
What are the immediate benefits that Nigerians should be receiving, so as to make them feel that, okay, while we're going through the pain, we're looking at a time where we start experiencing much of this benefit, but to a large extent, it has not trickled down on the living standard of Nigerians.
That's what I was going to ask. Do we really need those projects, as it were, for now?
Of course,
is that our immediate problem?
Of course, they will say it's for very critical infrastructures like road transport, and all.
But we have roads that have not been maintained, Josh. We have bad roads. that have not been maintained and have not been repaired. Let's take example the Saple Bini Road.
Yes.
You know, we saw the accident that happened there, you know, the fire accident and all that. The road is terrible. So if monies are borrowed to repair these roads, we will be seeing it and benefit from it.
True, true. Anyway, let's make progress. We have the next one from your end.
Yes, it's a Nigeria Tribune.
Okay.
And on the top of the Nigeria Tribune, we have court orders PDP Dagume to proceed with November 15th, 16th conviction. It directs INEC to attend and monitor proceedings. This you can find on page 4. And of course, the Trump threat. We have Trump threat, China, EU, ECOWAS back Nigeria. This you can find on page 3. We talked about it earlier on.
Of course.
And then we have court gives Nnamdi Kanu till today to defend terrorism charges. And you can find this on page 16. Police deploys 60,000 security personnel for Anambra election. This also you can find on page 2. And then CBN to raise 650 billion naira in first November Treasury bill auction. This you can find in page 5. DSS dismisses 115 personnel. You can find this on page 16. And then let's talk health. You can find this on page 2. Walking, swimming, cycling, best exercise to ease knee arthritis. You can find that on page 2. Okay, Josh.
Yeah, let's look at the issue of police deploying 60,000 security personnel for Anambra election alone. I mean, let's look at it. How many police personnel do we have as it stands right about now that looks into the affairs of security issues across the nation? We have less than 500,000. So if you're deploying just 60,000 to a particular state,
do you say just?
I mean, going by what we have here, 60,000. All right. So 60,000 is a lot.
Yes, that's a lot.
Now, how many will be left to cater to the needs of other states? And I'm talking about states, you know, with local government that are as big, like Lagos, for instance. So how many would you have that will be able to look into security issues if you have this number that will be going to, you know, Anambra alone? The question is, for what purpose?
Do we need such amount of numbers of policemen to go?
War front?
Exactly.
So why do we need such number? In developed societies, we see people cast their ballots through emails.
Yes.
So what happens if we introduce that system?
Okay, was there a security alert that there was going to be some kind of hiccup in the elections? You never can tell.
We always hear of flashpoints. It has always been the issue when it comes to election period. So we're not new to that. Nigeria is not immune to that. But the question is it a war situation that you have to deploy such number of police force
60 is
to
a
that
lot.
particular area?
60 is a lot.
60,000
60,000 is a lot.
Not exactly.
Is a lot.
We're not even looking at the logistics involved. Right? Because obviously there are a lot of issues that will be looked into. The allowances and all. And of course, the vehicular movement to that place,
yes.
the fueling of the vehicles and all of that. At what?
Okay, so Josh, let me quickly ask you.
Yeah.
Do you think these policemen are drafted from the states around Anambra State? And if that is, what happens to the security of these states where they are drafted from?
I think the IGP needs to answer to these questions because I don't know where they'll be drafted from, if it's going to be from within the state or from outside the state. But of course, as you know, they say crime is local. So if you need to understand how to be able to curb crime and secure the lives of people, you bring police, you know, personnel from within the communities and within the state so that they better understand the terrain proper to be able to, you know, secure the state. But I'm saying, why do you have to deploy 60,000?
60,000.
It's quite much.
Does the state has up to 60,000 policemen?
I doubt.
Okay.
I doubt. So it might mean that they may be drafting more from other states.
The other states.
Just for support
from
basis.
neighboring states.
But let's look at other newspaper headline. We have the Nation newspaper, and on the front headline, we have still on the Trump against the Nigerian issue of CPC. I mean, talking about country of particular concern. Federal government says Nigeria will come out stronger from the CPC label crisis. Of course, a lot of people do not know why this designation, as it were given on Nigeria. You know, it's an international law.
Yeah.
So when you see issues of this nature, it's usually the president who issues such directive or declaration, and usually come through the office of the secretary. And to a large extent, it's as a result of the fact that if Nigeria is not engaged directly, perhaps they may have been able to neglect some security issues that would have bordered on the violation of one's fundamental rights to be able to express themselves religiously. So that might be the issue of this declaration. And I don't know for how long this label
is
will
going
be
to
on
be
Nigeria.
on Nigeria.
And of course, when you know that the issue of security is taken seriously is when you're not seeing foreign investment coming into the country. Then you get to understand that nobody invests whatever they have in a country that is going through some sort of security issues.
Yes.
So it's really a very, very serious label or badge that Nigeria is carrying right now, to be labeled as a country that violates the right of a certain religious group.
I would have loved to hear from you to know if the way Nigeria is going to go about it will help us come out of that label.
Some people are saying that is it not high time the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, start making appointments, especially with those who are ambassadors to our countries, to other countries, to be able to push out policies to make the whole world understand that we are not what we've been tagged. I think that will go a long way to create some level of positive image, you know, to the country, as it were. But of course, we are being told that time is not on our side. So let's see one other or two that we can just cover in terms of the major headlines. So you can take the next one quickly.
Again, this is Daily Independent. Again, Tinubu asks Senate to okay fresh 1.15 trillion loan. And then Nigeria's security fight stifled by disunity, says ex-army chief. I mean, if we can take one more, court clears PDP to hold national convention in Ibadan. And then AI adoption, Nigeria insurance industry may cut jobs by half. This is not good for. This is not good for.
Already we are battling with unemployment, and you still want to go
and
ahead.
You want to cut more. This is not
quite disheartening. Well, that's what we will be sharing with you on the newspaper review from our Lagos Network studio. Thank you so much, Pat, for doing this with me. Yeah. And of course, the program continues shortly, as we'll be going for a short break now, where Benin takes over the rest of the program.